Hello everyone and welcome back to Milo Farms. Well, had a bit of a furnace problem here today and going to go through kind of what I found and then what I did to fix it and show kind of a startup sequence of what it should look like when it's back together. So the furnace that we're working on today is, there's the serial number of it right there, 59 Sam Charles 5 Adam, and it's a Carrier natural gas furnace. So the symptoms that we had right off the bat to start with was the furnace was doing absolutely nothing. The thermostat was set to about 70 degrees in the house, and the house was about 50 degrees. The furnace was doing nothing at all. So first thing we did is took both the covers off. The bottom cover here you can take off without shutting the furnace down. Then when you take the second cover off, it shuts off this switch right here, which then cuts power to the unit. So what we're looking for is right here is a little yellow light. And so when the furnace was malfunctioning, we went ahead and held this button down right here, and you can see that the furnace will go into a startup sequence. The light will flash, the fan will kick on, and the fan will run for about 30 seconds. Once that fan's done, if there's a trouble code, which we had to start with, that yellow light that you just saw will flash, and it'll flash quick bursts and then a pause and then slow bursts. So in our case it flashed 2 of the fast, paused, and then flashed 3 of the slow, indicating a code of 23. So we went ahead and went down here to the cover of the unit, the lower cover, and it has this booklet attached to the back. And right here, we can see code number 23. Pressure switch did not open. Check for obstructed pressure tubing, and pressure switch stuck closed. So that gives us an idea where to start. Right here is the pressure switch. You have 2 hoses. This hose right here is the intake side of the pressure switch, or the inducer fan, the intake side of the inducer fan. This right here is the inducer fan, which never did turn on. And then right here is the outlet side of the inducer fan and the sensor, which is the back half right here. So I went ahead and I took the yellow hose off here, the front, blew air into it, determined it was clear. Then took off the hose on the back, blew air into it, and determined that it was plugged. Once I got that hose unplugged by blowing air through it, plugged it back in onto here, tried the unit by pressing and holding this button and letting it go through the startup sequence, and it went back into the same error code. So then that leads us to the pressure switch possibly being stuck. So I got it into the startup sequence where it should be ready to start. It didn't start again. I tapped the switch with a screwdriver handle. The switch clicked and released and immediately went into the startup sequence, indicating the switch was stuck. So on here we have the intake side, which is the clean side typically, and then you have the outlet side, which quite often has condensate in it, and that's what causes these switches to fail. So we're going to go ahead and replace the switch. We've got a new one that we ordered. We ordered the parts from supplyhouse.com. You can order pieces from there without any sort of a contractor license. Ship them UPS, and it got here in about 2 days. So we'll go ahead and get that switch replaced. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect these 2 hoses. And then there's 2 screws back behind here. Take those loose. And then we'll drop the sensor down. The sensor is going to have 4 wires on it, 2 in the front for the intake side and 2 in the back for the outside. So right here's our sensor. This back half is the part that's malfunctioning. And while we have this off and accessible, we want to clean the port that was clogged in the back here. So right here, right there, is a little port. We're going to use a paper clip that's bent straight, and we want to just reach in there and make sure we get all that garbage out of there. And that's the side that has the highly corrosive exhaust gases in it. We want to just make sure it's cleared out. Then we can take this hose, blow air through it, it's clear as well. So we'll go ahead and put this hose back on, make sure it's back on tight. So that's it for that. Then we have our new switch here. The part number for this particular unit is right here. And so we compared the part number on the old switch. This switch is exactly the same switch, so we'll go ahead and get it installed. So looking at the backs of these, they're identical, so we're just going to move the wires straight across from where they are on the old one right to where they are on the new one. So there's the first two wires. They just push right on there just like that. Then with our same orientation, put the yellow one on the bottom and the orange one on top. And so there we go, the other wire is back on. Everything's tight, everything's back on, and we'll go ahead and reinstall this. You got two screws, they're both going into this plastic fan housing, so you don't want to get them too tight and strip anything. They're both 1/4 inch. Just lightly tighten those up. Okay, then we're going to connect the outside hose on the back, the intake side hose on the front. Then we want to make sure that these wires are routed out of the way so they're not going to rub on the inducer motor like you can see they have been here. So those are out of the way. So right now the furnace is in heat mode. The thermostat is turned up a little higher than it should be in the house. So immediately when we put this back together, the furnace should start its startup sequence. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to flash the yellow light, and it's going to run the squirrel cage fan here for about 30 seconds to clear out the unit. Then it's going to turn on the inducer motor. Then it's going to turn on the hot plate, and then once it finds the temperature, then it's going to inject the fuel, and then it's going to light. So that's what we should be looking for here. And again, if you do not have this cover on, pressing on this switch, or have this switch depressed with tape or something like that, the unit will not work. So here we go. Put that on, and you can hear the fan up here in the top has started, and if you could see through this little indicator hole right here on the camera, the yellow light will be flashing. It's code for just normal. So we'll wait about 30 seconds, and then we should see the inducer motor start. So here it goes. The inducer motor just started. That's going to clear out any possible unburnt fuel or anything that could be in there. And then as soon as it recognizes that pressure, we should start seeing the hot plate heat up down here. You'll see an orange glow in the back. So there's the orange glow. And there's the fuel. And in the back you can see the flame now. So that furnace will start warming up and it should be good. Anywhere along the way, if it had encountered a problem like it did with the switch being stuck shut, it didn't sense the fan was running, it didn't sense that the hot plate got hot, or it didn't sense that it ignited, anywhere along the way it will shut itself down and produce that code that we read earlier off of this light up here. So if you follow that process, that's what you should see as it starts up. So that takes care of this issue, and everything should be working correctly again. So hope everybody enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was able to help somebody. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time at Milo Farms.